technology consulting, internal audit, data, and productivity. We ensure your business is future ready. As we operate to solve problems with trusted advisors for business and technology consulting, internal audit, data, and digital transformation. We are global and truly independent, delivering confidence in a dynamic world.
From internal audit 360 to enterprise risk management, we've got it covered. Post-Cox advanced planning, execution with predefined checklists, suggested risks to make your internal audit processes seamless and efficient. Don't just take our word for it. Customers have rated RiskCox 4.6 out of 5. Here are sample customer feedbacks from our clients on Gartner. With RiskCox, you'll have access to 24/7 customer support, patch updates, free upgrades, and features.
In the midst of disruptions, innovations, complexity, and ambiguity, reposition consulting services identifies foundations and develops a robust platform for businesses and its people to pivot meaningfully to better options and superior results. We focus on learn, unlearn, and relearn, since the speed of change and the speed of trust is uncertain. Our combined industry experience of more than 50 years across 15 plus sectors in global and local markets, we indicate our development, what we should
check test.
we think inside out, such is important to know why we are doing what we are doing.
is a seamless unified platform enabling end-to-end automation, eliminating human intervention from repetitive tasks, delivering process efficiencies and enhanced user experiences. This allows employees to devote their time and energy to tasks requiring superlative user judgment. Connect with us today for a digital handshake.
Change is imminent, but only some change can drive greater good, can alter the existing paradigm, can elevate the quality of life. Changes like these have the power to truly transform, to usher in a new era. Biocon has been a champion for meaningful transformation in healthcare for over 4 decades. From being pioneers in developing, manufacturing, and commercializing biosimilars in India, today, Biocon Biologics is recognized as an important global biosimilars player. We are recognized for expanding affordable innovation. We have a world-class scientific talent pool with R&D experience of developing biologics for global markets. Our state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities adhere to the most stringent regulatory norms, with accreditation from some of the top regulatory agencies. In fact, we are one of the largest insulin producers in the world and among the largest producers of antibody drugs in Asia. We have transformed the global pharma landscape with our game-changing firsts in the biosimilar space. Our products have been trusted by millions of patients across the world. We have built one of the broadest and deepest portfolios of biosimilars in the industry. And our relentless drive to address the global unmet need for affordable life-saving drugs has led us to seek full vertical integration across the biosimilars value chain. The acquisition of global biosimilar business of Viatris is yet another step in consolidating this vertically integrated model for healthcare equity and takes us closer to our mission of delivering affordable medicines to billions of patients globally. This acquisition transforms Biocon Biologics from a collaborative model to a leading global biosimilars player. Besides the addition of partnered and in-licensed biosimilar assets, this new commercial engine propels us closer to both patients and payers. We will also be adding new generation vaccines to this formidable biosimilars portfolio through our alliance with the Serum Institute. Our growing commercial footprint across geographies demonstrates our resolve to provide more affordable and equitable access to world-class healthcare. We've grown because we've embraced change to alter the paradigm. Because we're committed to elevate the quality of life. Because we've focused steadfastly on transforming healthcare and in turn, transforming the lives of patients worldwide. Biocon Biologics. Transforming healthcare, transforming lives.
business is future ready. As we collaborate to solve problems with innovation at its heart, your trusted advisors for business and technology consulting, internal audit, data, and digital transformation. We are global and truly independent, delivering confidence in a dynamic world. That's Protiviti.
That's where we come in. Root is a seamless unified platform enabling end-to-end automation, eliminating human intervention from repetitive tasks, delivering process efficiencies and enhanced user experiences. This allows employees to devote their time and energy to tasks requiring superlative user judgment. Connect with us today for a digital handshake.
In the midst of disruptions, innovations, complexity, and ambiguity, Reposition Consulting Services LLP identifies, harnesses, and develops a robust platform for businesses and its people to pivot meaningfully to better options and superior results. We focus on learn, return, and relearn, since the speed of change and the speed of trust is unsettling. Our combined industry experience of more than 15 years across 15 plus sectors in global and local markets. We dictate our philosophies, grow you show that management. We think inside out, since we inform why we are
This call from Dynamics, the ultimate risk management solution. From internal audit 360 to enterprise risk management, we've got it covered. Risk Hawk's advanced planning, execution with predefined checklists, suggested risks to make your internal audit processes seamless and efficient. Don't just take our word for it. Customers have made Risk Hawk 4.675. Here are sample customer feedbacks from our clients on Gartner. With RiskHawk, you'll have access to 24/7 customer support, patch updates, free upgrades, new features. It's certified for ISO 27001 certification from BSI. Stop by our kiosk for a free demo. Check.
Good morning, everyone. I request all the delegates to please be seated. We will be starting in another 5 minutes. I request all the delegates to please be seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Annual Conference 2023, hosted by Institute of Internal Auditors, Hyderabad Chapter and Vizag Audit Club. We at IIA are delighted to see all delegates in person. I know the past few years have been challenging for all of us. I want to take this moment and draw attention to the fact that you have all made it. Take a moment here. Take a moment and thank your families, your employers for being so kind and generous during the tough times. I personally, from IIA, want to thank you all for extending your support and participating in our conferences while we held it virtually. So congratulations to each and everyone in this room. We have come out stronger than ever. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that light and brightness has always been equated with positivity, and motivation is seen as the harbinger of good. To start this off on an auspicious note, we will now have the lamp lighting ceremony. And ladies and gentlemen, to do the honors, we have an esteemed gathering amongst us. May I request the following office bearers to kindly join us for the lamp lighting ceremony. Uma Ma'am, President of IIA Hyderabad, President IIA India. Mr. T.L. Menon, Past President IIA Hyderabad Chapter. Mr. Sunil Rao, President IIA Hyderabad Chapter. Mr. D. Upadhyay, Vice President IIA Hyderabad Chapter. And Mrs. Madhuri Krishnaswamy, Secretary IIA Hyderabad Chapter and Chairperson of IIA Women's Circle. But let's welcome them with a round of applause, everyone. Please let the applause go in. Thank you so much, Uma Ma'am and office bearers for doing the honors. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our agenda for the day includes interesting and insightful session around ESG, technology, pharma and wellness. As part of the agenda, we first have an ESG by Mrs. Jayanti, followed by panel discussion on ESG. Then we move on to digital IA and data analytics by Mr. Apurva. Post-lunch, we have an interesting session on M&A in pharma integration risks and opportunities, followed by cyber incidents, internal auditors lookout, and we end our day with wellness session by Bhavani and vote of thanks by Mr. Tengupadia. I request Mrs. Uma to please come on stage and share a few words with us. Requesting Mr. Sunil Rao, President IIA Hyderabad Chapter, to come on stage and share your words with us.
Thank you, Deepika, and good morning to all of you. Greetings to all of you on behalf of IIA Hyderabad Chapter and Vizag Audit Club. Delighted to be after a long gap. The last one we had was maybe more than 3 years back in terms of a IIA conference in Hyderabad. I promise to keep it very quick and brief today, giving you highlights about our chapter's accolades and achievements in the past year and a half, and also run through in terms of how we plan to have a vision for the next few years, of course, in tandem with the other IIA chapters and also IIA India. The topics for this conference has been deliberated and very delicately crafted after a lot of deliberations, keeping in mind the need of the hard topics such as the ESG, the contemporary topics such as the digital IA, analytics, cyber. We have a great industry presence in Hyderabad on the pharma. We have a very engaging conversation on the pharma. Also on lifestyle-focused wellness session which will be taken by Bhavani. So we believe in a mix of consulting and industry, and that's why you see the speakers of today who would be attending and addressing the gathering here. 150 plus between Hyderabad and Vizag would be the total participants today. And I thank all of you, including those in Vizag who are attending online today. Thank you so much. We also wanted this platform to be a launchpad for a lot of speakers who are young speakers with very, very creative mindsets and also experienced speakers. So it's going to be a blend of an experience versus new ideas coming up. And I request all of you to enjoy these sessions and take away two main things from here. Number one is a lot of knowledge, and second is networking. So thank you so much. I would also now very quickly highlight on the chapter's accolades and highlights. We have touched 300 plus members this year. So kudos to all of you. Thank you for participating. Our women network, we had 3 women network forums conducted by our women chair and the team. And these are very, very well received and engaged, where a lot of you who are in the hall today were part of those and attended. They were on the wellness, they were on the lifestyle, work-life balance and things which are very similar to those. I also want to thank the Vizag Audit Club, the team headed by Charan, and all who helped us with getting engaged with a lot of students in Vizag and Hyderabad on the students' awareness which we created on part of the IIA. We have also had PDMs on diverse topics such as NFRA, GST and other risk-based topics. So thank you so much for all those who came forward and participated in that. We also have our fellow members from Baroda Audit Club today, Bangalore, Calcutta, and thank you so much. And for IIA India, Uma, thank you for coming in and helping us grace this occasion. So with that said, I would just mention about certain specific things. Our vision would be to look at it more from an industry and sector perspective. And we know that there are a lot of shared service centers, global shared service centers, pharma. We have our biggest integrated apparel park who's part of our members. So this industry expertise, if you can come forward, share your knowledge or participate in all these seminars and PDMs which are going on, will only make it more engaging. Thank you so much, and please reach out to Mr. KPC Rao, who is the chapter coordinator, if you think any of these activities can be improved or for your feedback. More than happy to take those feedback for better improving the sessions for going forward. Thank you so much. Ma'am, please, if I can request you to come.
Good morning to all of you. I am very happy, of course, and privileged to be part of today's program. And initially I was supposed to come only in the afternoon. I think I would have really missed if I had taken that decision. It's good that I changed and they could be part of the inaugural. I'm really very happy to be part of the inaugural session here. I would just like to probably talk to you about the IAA All India activities that is happening across all the chapters. Of course, Sunil is the most active chapter president, I would say. Not because I'm in Hyderabad, I am giving this accolade to Sunil. But I think Sunil is the only chapter president who has continuously served for more than 2 years now. I think he's going to get a hat-trick probably this year again. Otherwise, in all the other chapters, we have a practice of rotation. So the vice president becomes the president, the secretary becomes the vice president. That's how it happens. I think Hyderabad is the only exception, and I think Sunil deserves a good applause for that. So in the All India, we have a lot of initiatives for spreading awareness about this IAA course. How many of you are CIAs here? Certified Internal Auditors? Good. Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting course, and this is a global organization, of course, as all of you know about it. And it's really gaining importance in India now, and a lot of organizations like, even Wells Fargo is here, a lot of organizations like Wells Fargo and Big Fours like Deloitte, they are all giving a lot of importance to this course now. In fact, many of them are encouraging them to write this examination and even reimburse the cost. To that extent, they are very supportive. So it's going to be in a long way. There's going to be a lot of progress in this educational qualification is what I understand right now. Because I have been associated with this institute for the last 23 years. So I see a paradigm shift in the whole thing in the advocacy measures and in the number of CA qualifieds coming up, and even also in the members. Today, we have around 4,800 members. Shortly, we will be touching 5,000. Started a women's forum in 2019. Of course, it took so many years to start a women's forum. And in 2019, we started, and we are now more than 1,000 members, 1,000 women members are there. So 25% of the total members are occupied by women, and I am really proud to say that and to be part of them. In fact, here I see a lot of women in this crowd. Unlike even the other chapters, I would say probably really a lot of inclusive diversity is there. Hats off to that again. And we have a lot of training programs initiated for the whole year, and I'm sure this is coming in the website also, which has been updated regularly. And we are taking a lot of trainings for corporates, public sector undertakings, which we have signed up. Recently, we have also taken a training program for the LIC for the whole year across all their infrastructure. Around 18 training programs we have organized for the LIC. Similarly, for Indian Oil also, we have a lot of training programs, Kotak Bank. So we are concentrating on those training initiatives. And in the Students Development Committee, of course, as Sunil was telling, Hyderabad is again taking a lot of lead and a lot of interest in the student development initiatives. So we need to penetrate into the student community to bring the awareness to the students about the CA qualification. So as part of IAA India, I am trying to approach the NCVRT. It is a national for the Skills Development Association. So through them, we are going to have a tie-up where we have a certification course or a diploma course amongst all the colleges pan-India. We are working on that. Soon we will be launching, probably 2-3 months time, we will be launching that course, which will be a great initiative for the students community, and this will also generate employment for the students who are in the final year. After they complete, they would be prepared to face an internal audit interview, so that they have the basic understanding and knowledge of the internal audit. So this is something which we are planning in the next 2 months. Most probably it will happen in the month of June or July. So that is again great initiative that we have taken during this year. All other initiatives like the membership drive that we are having, and we are really going in a very fast pace. We are doing a lot of advocacy measures with the CA Institute and other institutes where we could do a lot of joint programs with them, and this is also one of the initiatives from the All India. So if you see overall in the last 20 years, if I see, when we were hardly 5 members, 6 members or 30 members attending a conference, today we are talking about minimum 150 members, 200 members, 300 members attending a conference and a webinar. See, that is the state of development we are in. So soon we will touch 500, we will be able to see that probably in another couple of years to see that. Once again, thank you very much, Madhuri, Sunil. all the devotee members of the Hyderabad Tinku for giving me this opportunity and for inviting me to attend this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would request Mr. T.N. Menon to present the bouquet.
We also have Praveen, ISACA chapter president. Praveen, if I can request you to come over, please. Thank you so much. We look forward for a lot of synergies. Tinku, if I can request you to hand over a bouquet to Praveen, please. Thank you.
Sunil, thank you for inviting me and good luck IAA family. And we have been talking about synergies with ISACA and CIA, IAA. So I think a lot of cities are getting there. I think Hyderabad would be the next one. So I think this synergy, we have just started it right now. So we want to take it forward. Not just from ISACA, as an individual, I do a lot of awareness campaigns. So I think we can collaborate on that and we can work with the industry and build the industry. So right now, I'm sure that a lot of leaders here who don't get people on time. So you have a requirement and the requirement fills in after 6 months. So why do you think is the case? So industry is working in their own path and the academia is working in their own path. So again, there is huge gap between what the industry wants and what the academia is actually working on. So it is time that people like you and us, or we as individuals, come forward and bridge the gap. So let's go to colleges, let's meet universities, let's help them change their pattern of education or syllabus. So I'm working with one of the colleges where they want to bring in cybersecurity, the full 4-year course. So those are the kind of things that we need to work on so that we as industry grow. So right now we have a need of 1,000 people, but we're just about 100 people. But the younger folks who are just fresh out of college, they don't know how to really land here. As for them, security or auditing is just about hacking. So it is we as leaders, we need to go to colleges, we need to educate them, we need to show them what are the paths they can find out to getting into this world. So looking forward for this synergy and thank you for inviting. Good luck.
I would now request Mrs. Madhuri Krishnaswamy, Secretary IIA Hyderabad Chapter, to introduce our first speaker for the day.
Hi everyone, very warm welcome to all of you. I'm so happy to see such a huge gathering. I have the honor of introducing our first speaker for today on the topic ESG. She's Jayanti. She's currently a director at Protiviti. She's close to 15 years of experience in the areas of sustainability and climate change, including sustainable energy strategy development, high performance design in the built environment, resource efficiency. She has supported many companies in their sustainability activities, including ESG risk management, ESG audit, program management, and sustainable culture change. Prior to joining Protiviti, Jayanti was practicing as a sustainability consultant, advising many corporates on their strategy and high performance, net zero design and energy efficiency. I request you to please come.
Good morning, everyone. As we get connected, thank you, IIA Hyderabad and Vizag Audit Club for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Madhuri, for the introduction. Let me introduce a little bit more. I just had a quick chat as I came in. When I introduced, I'm an architect by profession, completely coming from a non-financial background. And somebody from the cement industry asked me, "Architect, what are you doing at Platoon?" So I started my career as an architect, specialized in energy efficiency, building energy efficiency, and that's my path towards how it has environmental impact, climate change, and came into sustainability and climate change consulting. So I've been doing this for 15 years. Selling environmental consulting is not such an easy job so far, but I'm sure now at least ESG as a topic is a very, very hot topic, which I think most of the finance industry is not looking at, or the finance professionals are looking at with respect to either regulatory landscape, what are things happening around. At least after the pandemic, there's a lot of grab or a lot of attention towards ESG. So I completely come from a non-financial background, so this question keeps coming, what is ESG, what is it all about, is it too much of greenwashing, what is E, S and G, is it just reporting, so since a lot of questions, these kind of basic questions come into picture. How I've taken up this presentation today is that I will take you through a little bit of basics, probably a little bit of into science, to understand what greenhouse gas emissions are, how this term ESG evolved around, so that we as internal auditors, not me, you as internal auditors understand what is the importance of this ESG reporting, which is started being looked upon with a larger lens by the regulatory bodies globally. So this is the overall structure. What is ESG, as I said, and we will go through what are the global ESG frameworks and ESG rating providers who provide the ESG score to the organizations. What does materiality assessment mean? And that's a key term to be understood of the entire organization. Or how does materiality assessment matter towards the ESG reporting in itself? Then we move from there something called sustainability reporting or ESG reporting. What is the difference and how does an organization go about in this report? And finally, concluding at what is the internal auditor's role in the entire ESG reporting. So, I'm sure many of you would have heard of the term greenhouse gas emissions. Your kids at school might be studying environmental science these days rather than studying general science till the 4th grade. We go back to a little bit of basics. There is around 7 greenhouse gas emissions. The bottom 4 that you see are the main 4 major greenhouse gas emissions that is leading to the global warming. The first one being carbon dioxide, which we all understand in depth what is carbon dioxide, and any kind of activity or human presence has a CO2 emission that is there in the environment. The second one being methane. Methane is out of agriculture, human existence, industrial processes and things. Nitrous oxide is also from agriculture and other industrial, it's called NOx in a short term. The fourth one being the fluorinated gases. Fluorinated gases are nothing but the CFCs, HCFCs, and these are coming from 2 major innovations that happened in the world, that is air conditioning and refrigeration. We are able to sit here without knowing what is happening outside in a comfortable environment. Even it's 40 degrees outside, we are here at a comfortable temperature, which is expanded over the world. Wherever you are able to sit in a confined space, have a comfortable temperature to carry on your activities. That is air conditioning, which has a direct refrigerant and goes and affects the ozone layer, the refrigerants that we use in our basic split ACs or any other ACs that we use at home, and again on a big scale in the industries. Second is refrigeration. We are able to eat and enjoy, say, a sushi here or a salmon from US in another country. So the entire refrigeration innovation is another major impact that has happened towards emission of these CFC gases into the environment. So why these gases are important? You can look at the basic thing. Carbon dioxide, once emitted, it is in the atmosphere around 150 to 200 years. I take a pause here, please imagine, it stays in the environment for 150 to 200 years. the CO2 emitted today, right? Or this is where all the developed countries have already emitted, and there is impact which other developing countries are going through. And if you look at methane, nitrous oxide, and fluoride, and the CFCs, I have given the warming potential, how they are measured in terms of the CO2. That is, methane is around 28 times harmful, has a global warming potential than carbon dioxide. Nitrous oxide has 265 times carbon dioxide, and the CFCs and HCFCs has around 150 to 23,000 times warming potential of carbon dioxide. I hope that gives a picture. It is not just CO2, not just carbon dioxide, it is all these four major gases which have big impact on the global warming in itself of the environment. So if you look at the CO2 emission, so all these are, the other gases are I would say, expressed in a term something called CO2 equivalent. You will start seeing this term CO2e, that is CO2 equivalent, which includes books in your entire I might not speak the right language of your finance, you might know. It is never brought in the books what is the environmental impact that is happening. Any raw material that we are sourcing from the environment for any kind of production that the organization is going through. So that is how it started. And from there, a different standards developed. We had the famous CSR law that started in 2014. And we were the very first, if you would like to know, that air and water, we had Air Act and Water Act in 1980s. Which India brought in, and it started from there. And now 2021, SEBI has gone ahead and said the top 1,000 listed companies, I'm sure many of you have heard of the BRSR, Business Responsibility Sustainability Reporting. I will get into that detail. SEC in the US has come in the Form 10K, organizations have to file their Scope 1, Scope 2 emissions, nothing but the greenhouse gas emissions, which are divided under 3 different scopes. I won't get into those details, but organizations have to report this number, what is their environmental impact on the greenhouse gas emissions to be reported. And similarly, these commitments which organizations countries are providing is translating into the regulators in those countries, coming up with these different regulatory requirements, which is again will travel down to all the organizations henceforth. So that's what is happening presently. And from there, what is now ESG? What is moving towards how this is all related to the ESG reporting? What is ESG? I think by now we all would have understood it. It's an organization's impact with respect to the environment. So it is not just climate change. Climate change is one of the aspects of the entire ESG reporting on these 3 pillars. Right? Whatever background I had given you is only on the environment. There are other 2 aspects as social and governance as well as brought into to look at a responsible business reporting and etc. So that is where these 3 pillars becomes important. E, S and G, that is the social impact, like we just spoke about diversity and inclusion, the customer privacy, data privacy, how is the organization giving back to the communities, the CSR comes under social, and governance, of course, we all know what the governance is. And I'm sure E, we know the different impact by the organization with respect to air, water, emissions, biodiversity, circular economy and things like that. So this is ESG. I'll take a pause here. Do you want to take up questions now? We'll take up questions in the last. Yes. So here, what I've done here is we've to understand what are these ESG reporting, what are the standards and frameworks. We've just put it into 3 buckets here. The first bucket shows you the publishing guidance. These are the names that you all keep hearing about, that is TCFD, GRI, SASB, IR, integrated reporting was the very first type of ESG reporting that was introduced. And the colorful squares that you see are nothing but the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And now it is IFRS. I'll take you through what IFRS has come up with in the next slide. The second bucket and the third bucket that you see are nothing but the ESG rating providers. So if you see the last bucket, that is MSCI Sustainalytics, MSCI is the very first one to provide the ESG rating for the companies on a publicly available data. So if an organization is preparing their ESG report, it is expected to publicize, become transparent on those numbers under these 3 pillars and publicly make the data available publicly. And that is how they provide the rating, and and the rating is also available publicly. If an investor wants to know how, say for example, Tata Motors is doing with respect to their ESG performance before investing into that company, they can go to MSCI and find out what is the rating of Tata Motors and how are they performing there. So similarly with Sustainalytics or True Labs. Whereas the second bucket that you see are DJSI, Dow Jones Sustainability Index, CDP, Bloomberg, Refinitiv. These are ESG rating providers which are confidential, where it is one-to-one. The organization shares the data with the rating provider on a confidential manner. If an investor wants to know about that company, they go to that rating provider and find out what is the rating. Right? So this is the basic difference between these standards. So there is a lot of confusion between, there are so many different standards, like SASB was more towards Americas, TCFD is more in the European region, GRI is something which is used globally. So there is it's very difficult to do an apple-to-apple comparison between two organizations. Say for example, a similar automobile company in the US and automobile company in India, what is their ESG performance or what is their ESG score, how are they performing, for an investor to know. The language is completely different. So in the last COP, 26 countries came together and these standards boards came together. They have agreed that there will be one global standard henceforth, and it is getting published in the mid of this year, June 2023. And that is the ISSB, which is a board under IFRS, International Financial Regulatory Standard Board. Under that is International Sustainability Standard Board. So this is going to use SASB and TCFD as the major standards to be referred from, and others are all just as complemented. SASB, for example, has 77 sector-specific standards, whether it is a finance industry, whether it is a media company, or whether it is an oil and gas company. The sector-specific, there are different standards around in SASB. And TCFD more deals with the type of risk that the organization goes through, like a physical risk or a transition risk. What are the different risks that have been addressed in the organization? So keeping these two as a basis, the new standard is going to come up this year. It was supposed to come in December 2022. It is delayed. So at least we can see the transfer that from next year, most of the organizations globally would have gone under one standard towards ESG reporting. So moving from here, what does this ESG reporting mean and how does it vary across different sectors or different industries? Now there are these three pillars, E, S and G. Say for example, an oil and gas company has a major, or any manufacturing company has a huge environmental footprint when compared to say a bank or an insurance company or their existence in itself. So the weightage between the three pillars varies across sector specific. So when somebody is starting, there are organizations who start this ESG reporting from scratch. There are organizations who has done it for 2 or 3 years as a tick in the box exercise, and they really want to put processes and things in place within the organization. There are organizations who are mature enough, they have been doing this for last 10 years, more than 5 to 10 years, and they want to really show their better performance and keep sustainability as their major vision within the organization. So when somebody is starting from scratch, you need to understand this alignment. Who is your audience for your ESG reporting? Who are your stakeholders to whom this reporting has to be prepared for? So if it is your investor who is going to look at your ESG reporting, and these standards and frameworks that I just showed you, and the ESG raters, they have their own rating methodology and they provide the weightage across this E, S and G for different sectors. Say for a bank or a finance sector, it will be more weightage around 100, 35% might go under the S and G. Almost 70 or to 80% might go just on S and G. Hardly 10 to 5% would be on the environment. Whereas an oil and gas sector, more towards 40% or 35 to 40% will just be on the E part of the performance of the organization. Whereas, of course, governance is there in all, minimum to 25 to 35%, there is governance, which is the major requirement. Adding here, as I speak about governance, COSO also has introduced a new ESG governance framework, Internal Control for Sustainability Reporting, ICSR, just 10 days back, a framework for sustainability reporting. So ESG governance in itself is also being given huge importance, what kind of controls and risk has been identified within the organization in their entire sustainability reporting. Coming to materiality assessment, so these are material topics under these three different pillars, the E, S and G. For organization has to identify which are those key areas. Say for example, I will just quickly take a manufacturing facility, they will have GHG emissions, they will have a water footprint, they might be producing a lot of waste. How do they manage their waste? They might be affecting a biodiversity. For example, a telecom company, they might have a lot of towers around, and it's in thousands and thousands they might be having towers, and they will have impact on the biodiversity. How are they addressing those? So these are the weightages that will get into very sector specific. And and each and every material topics needs to have a qualitative or a quantitative metric around these areas. Typically, when an organization starts first, it might be more on a qualitative metric, and probably the first year they might have a very first baseline year because you're just collecting the very raw data, however it is present, and you're trying to put things in place. Why am I specifying all this is how your internal audit role is going to be impact. That's why I'm giving this thrust how it goes about. So if an organization has done their ESG reporting their first year, the first year is going to be a very basic data point. There will be a lot of assumptions that would have gone into. It might not be actual numbers, there might be a lot of assumptions and extrapolations that would have gone in there. And they need to identify how this weightage material topics are identified under these three pillars. That is the key area. So your audit will also focus on those key areas, which is material for that type of industry and that type of organization. Right? Once they identify these material topics, then you go ahead and see the metric whether it's going to be qualitative or quantitative. So typically everything should move towards a quantitative number, which we all understand as of now by GHG emissions, scope 1, scope 2 emissions are into quantitative number. You get a direct CO2 equivalent number. What is my or our organization's CO2 environmental footprint, which is everything is converted into a CO2 equivalent number. Right? And this is a comparative number even to peers. For example, in BRSR reporting, SEBI has come up with this detailed Excel. I'm sure many of you are aware and already doing the BRSR reporting. So it's a very, very detailed and very aligned to GRI and the SASB standards. And such an Excel spreadsheet does not even there in international framework, I would say. It's like more of a questionnaire in the international framework. But what SEBI has done, the NSE has published this Excel spreadsheet which is very, very detailed, and they get into these specific metrics. It starts from right where, do you have a policy? Is the policy approved by the board? Do you have a process? Do you have a procedure in place? Then how are you performing? What is the metric that you are or monitoring? Where do you stand per ton of your manufacturing or per crore of your turnover? That's the kind of intensity numbers that are being specifically asked in this BRSR report, and all standards are aligned towards that. An organization should get there when they're starting with qualitative, but still they should get into a quantitative metric around these areas. So this is how a typical materiality assessment looks like. Say what are the risks under environmental, social governance we look forward to, and how these material topics are. Hello. How these material topics are important to business and what impact they have towards stakeholders. So you align them there. Yeah, you align to that. You do this first exercise, run an interview or a survey along with the different stakeholders involved at the board and the different expos of the organization, and understand which are those key material topics, what impact they have on business, what impact they have on the stakeholders, and accordingly bring in because typically an organization which is doing for more than 5 years, there are around 600 data points that gets published in a sustainability reporting. And when an organization is starting from scratch, they have around minimum 50 to 100 data points they start with. So how do you prioritize them? This is the first exercise the organization has to do. So industry specific, as I mentioned, you need to get into those specific standard, identify which is the standard, accordingly align the entire reporting to that standard, and go forward and start collating data, preparing policies around those areas, identifying the key process owners, procedures to be in place. so that you have a proper control identified for these metrics. This is the major greenhouse gas emission. There are different standards and conversion factors. This is also to be known in depth, in detail, because there is a standard protocol, GHG protocol, international body, which provides how this GHG emissions have to be calculated, different sector and industry wise. There are many manuals and calculators available online, and the team that is preparing or the organization need to align themselves to this international standard. Before even coming to a level, how are they going to put in their entire CO2 emission together? This is the basic standards, and the internal audit is very important to understand this, how these numbers are getting calculated as well. So this is just a sample from a GRI reporting. So in every ESG reporting now, many of the ESG reports are available on a public forum. These ESG reports are available on a public forum. As I said, when you will be applying to an ESG score, it is on a publicly available data. You would just be providing, this is the page number of this section. Say for example, here we see the first one, material used weight by volume, GRI 301, that's the number. So this is very specific, this is a key term that has to be there in your report. If you are aligning to this GRI standard or any other specific standard, they have their own format of index which the company has to follow. And the ESG rating provider is very simple, they just go by a control F. Do you have that term specified and how are you performing there, right, in that report. So it has to be a very similar to a financial reporting. This is very, very structured in a manner for every ESG standard that any organization chooses for. So this is something is the basic that any reporting you will have to review through on the indexing level. This is again a similar how a table of contents is prepared for a GRI and sector specific and industry specific. Moving to what is an internal auditor role here. So I've just put my thoughts here how an internal auditor, what should be the ask questions when you're starting your audit for this reporting. The first one being, what are the E, S and G issues that are very specific to the organization. That is the first understanding that we as an internal auditor we should have. Second one, what are the risks involved against all these E, S and G. There might be a compliance risk, there could be a reputational risk. Compliance, still most of the regulatory bodies are stopping at the GHG emissions. Even SEC says scope 1, scope 2 emissions. Now SEBI has come up with an announcement 10 days back that the 1,000 listed companies which are going to be publishing this BRSR report, the top 150 companies have to go for a reasonable assurance on the core BRSR reporting. So when you're going for reasonable assurance, you know what and all process falls back for the entire trail documents into the entire SI report. So what are the risks associated? How is the business organization to serve the entire ESG governance with respect to policies, systems and controls in place? And how are they being communicated among the stakeholders, employees, the customers, and even both internal and external reporting? What kind of commitment are there in respect to communication? And the last most important here is the accuracy and completeness. The accuracy and completeness varies across different stages of ESG reporting. If somebody is in the first year, I just explained how it's going to vary. So then the auditor's lens have to change accordingly. If they are doing it for 2 or 3 years, then the lens should be a complete different lens. And of course, if they come under regulatory compliance, that's a complete, you directly go by the compliance. But if they are doing it at a voluntary level, then if they're doing for more than 5 years, the accuracy completeness becomes a very important aspect of the entire ESG reporting. So probably I put a slash there, ESG or sustainability reporting. What is the major difference? There is a big difference. Any organization publishes sustainability reporting, they publish it without alignment to any framework or standard. That's the sustainability reporting. We are doing CSR, we are doing this, CSR default, a lot of people are doing. So they call it everything is sustainable. Sustainability reporting is a very generic term. When you say ESG reporting, then it is very specific alignment towards a framework or a standard. So that's the difference between ESG and a sustainability report. So I'll take another 5-10 minutes more. That should be fine. So overall high-level approach, is there a climate component? How is the governance and strategy for the organization around their ESG reporting? What are the systems and controls? How are they progressing towards their goals? So any sustainability reporting or a vision for an organization starts with that first vision or mission. I think you all must be aware of the COSO, from where the goals to the end, implementation comes into picture. And it's very similar. The ICSR COSO framework, it goes on those 5 components, 17 principles, 77 point of focus. I'm very new to this, I'm learning it, but yes, that is how it is taken through. So the progress towards goals is the major, I would say entire progress, like that vision has to come from the organization. What am I going to do at short term? Because everything can't be done at once, very initially. It has to go stage wise. So our internal audit should also get into that kind of an aspect depending upon the organization's maturity in itself. So this is just a quick step-by-step process. We look at their ESG strategy, framework, policy, governance. Then we move from there as how is the integration process within the entire organization on ESG. The third being what are their key ESG material topics. The fourth one being what are the initiatives and implementation done across these topics. And from there, now data management. Data management itself, there is a big role play here, similar, because these are non-financial metrics which are getting in towards a financial metric kind of importance to these numbers. So the data management or the data governance in itself plays a very important role. So looking at, is there a tool that they are using? Anybody starts with basic Excel spreadsheets from the beginning and they move towards a proper data management within the organization. And from there, the overall reporting consistency year on year. That also becomes important with respect to ESG standards, frameworks, and their year-on-year performance under those metrics within the SI report, ESG report. So this is how we go about it. This is just a sample for an organization where we have picked up those material topics, E, S, and G. If you look at E, we have environment, water footprint, circular economy, green building certifications, emissions, and they have certification on ISO 14001. In social, the different ESG KPIs, diversity, inclusion, L&D, suppliers, ESG assessment, health and well-being, human rights, customer relationship, etc. And same way under governance. So we go by the same 6-step method. How do we go about auditing each and every area? We need to understand that first. Is an organization doing the quantitative metrics around this? Is it a qualitative metrics? Do they have a policy? Do they have a system in place? Do they have controls in these areas? So I think you're all experts out there to develop an audit strategy, now understanding how this SI report is being done by the organizations. To conclude there, so I hope I was able to give you a start where, what is the context, history behind and all this, and from there taking you through how the standards have evolved and how organizations are now started doing this ESG reporting, and from there assurance being an important role now, moving towards more and more stringency regulations that are coming up with. So ESG audit role is also going to be very, very important to be, ESG has to be part of their entire internal auditing year on year, activity that happens in an organization. I would like to close it with a note. Probably, I would quote Gandhiji's statement here. He says, sustainability is not, please remember this, the environment that we are enjoying here is not something we have what our forefathers left for. It is a loan that we are taking from our future generation. So that's a very, very, impactful statement that keeps reminding us. I hope we all stay, and we need to wear the sustainability as an individual, than just talking about organization level, country level, all that is there. But we as individuals, we do not have. We need to wear the sustainability hat probably at least all 5 days a week. So that's the requirement now we are in. Thank you, IA, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
companies do not follow the ESG procedures or the those standards, are there any penalties settled down, or are we expecting if they don't follow the compliance for the ESG?
Good question. Yes, as of now there is no compliance requirement even on the BRSR reporting. It is only asking you for data. Start reporting. Start putting things in place in your organization. They are not going to, and you will see it soon in few years, because SEBI is going to have data points on how organizations, how much is their CO2 emissions that is happening, and they might come up with a number. Say, I'll give you an example. 2-3 years back in France, they introduced carbon tax. There was riots in the country. Nobody was ready to even accept the taxing. But taxonomy is one of the future, and presently it is only asking organizations to report. We will soon see, once they have those numbers, they will come up with a regulatory framework to reduce your numbers or pay the taxes on your environmental footprint.
One more question. Myself, Bijan Kumar Das. I am coming from a listed company, and that BRSR is applicable to my company also. So my question is how to extend it to the value chain partners. So is there any tech from your side you can suggest?
Yes, sir. It's a very good question. In respect to GHG emissions, when I showed you on the CO2 emissions, there are three major divisions under them: Scope 1, Scope 2 and Scope 3. The scope does not mean literally the scope. Scope 1 means whichever the organization owns and they are emitting. So for example, they own 100 cars and all their 100 cars are flying up and down for their employee commute. Their diesel emission or petrol emission comes into picture. Owning a facility to say manufacture cement or manufacture any other component, they are emitting right at the manufacturing place, right? So that is also comes under Scope 1. Scope 2 is whatever is purchased. You're purchasing electricity. You have offices, you're purchasing electricity. Every 1 unit of electricity that we consume here in India, we emit 0.9 kilogram of CO2. That's the baseline with respect to the thermal power plant, the renewable energy. Approximately 1 unit of electricity is 1 kg of carbon dioxide that we are emitting. This is Scope 2. Scope 3 is what and all are not in your direct control, which he rightly said, the supply chain, the business travel, all your capital goods, your logistics, which are not under direct control of an organization, comes under Scope 3. So Scope 1, Scope 2, most of the organizations have direct control and they're able to offset it and do whatever they have. It's a direct decision that an organization can take. Whereas Scope 3, you are dependent on so many others, your contractors, your suppliers, your vendors and everybody. Right? So when you're extending it to them, it is a challenge. And if you look at an organization's CO2 emissions, Scope 3 is almost 60%. And unless you're able to offset that 60%, you're not reaching net zero. Scope 1, Scope 2, you can do whatever best, on a click of a button, buying RECs to everything, we can do that. But Scope 3 is a big challenge for many organizations. It is like having an umbrella. Like you have a policy, basic things you follow, right? Your code of conduct policy, you ask your vendor to comply with. You have your other anti-bribery policy, you extend it to your vendors. Similarly, your environmental policy or your vision towards net zero has to be transferred to all your supply chain. It's a network that is expected to address their scope. So unless you're going to tell your vendor, like even as a consulting firm as Protiviti, we do our ESG reporting. So we even go for an RFP, there are questions, are you monitoring your environmental footprint? Are you having an environmental policy within your organization? So these kind of questions, make your suppliers and your vendors to also start complying with. And so that's a key aspect. So that's how you can bring in, and it is a leadership presently at BRSR. It is not at an essential indicator, which is voluntary. Scope 3 is presently at voluntary. Soon, but not now, even SEC in the US has made assurance for Scope 1, Scope 2. Still they have not reached to the Scope 3. It will take time, and hope you will see, but it is there. It is going to be there for sure.
Hi Jayati, I have two questions. One is on the absorption of your CO2 emission. You talked about the plants being the sink in which it goes. How does a company even track that it's going back into their portion of the absorption? That's the first question. And the second one is, given we all get to learn, how do we upskill? Because because right now there's so much you shared, and we are all probably feeling somewhat vulnerable, especially if you're part of a listed company. How does one upskill into this kind of capability?
Sure. Yes, there is a lot of calculation with respect to the CO2 emission, how big a tree has to be, what species of tree, how much carbon dioxide they can actually, a fully grown tree within 5 to 10 years they can absorb CO2. There are metrics there, that is how a company calculates it, and they go ahead and do an afforestation, that is planting trees. There are many organizations across the world who are helping organizations to plant trees. I know many of you might disagree, there's a lot of greenwashing. How do you know they are actually going and planting and the trees exist there and they're absorbing the carbon dioxide, right? You will not believe there is a proper methodology given by United Nations. There are certified auditors to actually certify, go verify this, that the plants are there and they are absorbing so much CO2. Right? So that is the first thing. So the entire procedure is set up for an internal auditing. And there are certified auditors from United Nations and Greenhouse Gas Protocol. Yes, these are the certified agencies who can actually say yes, they have these afforestation methods. Second question is to upscale and upgrade. There is a lot of information available on the science part of it, I would say. There are many think tanks in India like CSC, which is more Center for Science and Environment. Sunita Narayan, you can actually go to their website and there's a lot of data that they pull out for India, whatever data that is shown, most of the resources are from CSC. That is one page that you can actually refer to, who give this entire commitment on net zero hours. The entire calculation is done by who supports the government. This is one. And second is, yes, there are a lot of certification for standards like GRI certification or SASB certification. Things like that. But that really helps you to see the standard, but as I told you, there's going to be a new standard very soon, right? That's going to be passed. So you better wait for this and take this new standard related certifications. And there are a lot of internal auditing with respect to environmental management system, your ISO 14001, ISO 24001. So these are different ISO standards where you can actually become an internal auditor on those areas as well. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Aishwarya. I'm internal auditor from KDA. So actually my question was kind of linked to what you answered. So is there kind of any certification or where a course where we become a certified like India certification, like ESG certification, where we can as an internal auditor we will be certified to conduct those audits in the future. So what all are like the good certifications that we can get and
presently, as I know, for ESG audit certification, there is no direct, but there is, I would say, there are different elements of it which I just mentioned, like ISO 14000 or 24000. There are different ISO certifications as such. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, what an insightful session it was. Thank you so much, Jayanti. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Disperse for a quick 10 minutes break. While on break, you find these cards on your table. I request you all to please scan the QR code and take the assessment. This will help us for the session that is planned later today. Requesting all of you to take few minutes and complete the assessment, please. Also, please visit the kiosks where all the sponsors have planned a quick demo for all of us. Additionally, thank you so much, delegates, for making the session so interactive. We have exciting prizes for all of you at the end of the session that will be announced. Thank you so much, and we'll meet in 10 minutes. But no, after the president and all,
We are going to say, okay, you're live streaming this.
Live streaming is going on. They can see it. Yes.
Welcome back everyone. I hope hello everyone. So welcome back after the tea and coffee break. Hope all of you had some refreshments. Can I request all of you please come to let's get started with the next session. Please settle down everyone. We'll start the next session for the day, which is the ESG panel discussion. After a very engaging session by Jayanti on the ESG topic, I'm sure you're earning for more. So we have a panel of speakers and I have the introductions over here. So we have the moderator Rana Bhaumik. Rana Bhaumik is a fellow DOG member. He's one of the founding partners at Reposition Consulting Services LLP, a chartered accountant by profession and is currently in practice since 2013. Prior to Reposition, he was part of the corporate audit functions at GE, Ford Motor Company, BDO and Dr. Reddy's. We have our first speaker, Ms. Jayanti. Jayanti, I will request you on stage, please. So, our second panelist for the day is Rasika. Rasika is the Deputy General Manager Engineering at Brandix India Apparel City. He has 15 years experience over the renewable infrastructure development, Greenfield Industrial Parks Township, Renewable Power Solution, ESG initiative for apparel industries. He is currently responsible for engineering, operation and environmental sustainability for large apparel parks over 20,000 associates. Thank you so much, Rasika, for coming. Our third panelist for this panel discussion is Mr. Dayananda Sharma. He needs no introduction, but I will still try to give it. So he is the principal advisor at Elenco Advisors LLP. He is the Central Council member of ICI for the second term. He has headed the digitization at ICI for a 5 crore data file migration over a period of 18 months. He's part of the Board of Studies and has revamped the entire syllabus after really long, I think about 75 years. He's been the past chairman of Peer Review Board. He's a member of Quality Review Board, Financial Reporting Review Board, the Tax Audit Quality Review Board. He's also the board member at XBRL India for the second time and the vice chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board for the third year. I request Mr. Dayanand to please come.
Hello.
Dayanand, please take over.
Yeah. Hi everybody, good morning to all the panelists, to all the audience here. I have the privilege of being a moderator on ESG panel, which has been blessed by stalwarts like Jayanti, like Dayanima Sharma, whom we fondly call as Daya, and of course Rashika. So a brief introduction to add to what we just heard. So Daya is the managing partner of Ellen & Co. and he is also a Central Council member. So in this panel, he brings to the fore what he looks at ESG or how he looks at ESG from the lens of a regulator. And in his capacity as chairman of the Board of Studies, the vice chairman of DAAP and amongst the other hats that he wears, I think he is more than qualified today to actually educate us on how the regulator, that is the ICAI, actually looks at ESG as a new discipline that's evolving. Rasika is an engineer by qualification with 20 plus years in implementing sustainable infrastructure, and he is going to present us and enlighten us from the lens of the implementer. So we are all hearing about the new things that ESG is bringing to the fore, but how does it actually translate into actions? That is what Rasika is going to enlighten us with. Well, as far as Jayanti is concerned, I think all of us, we know a fair bit, if not more, about what she does and how she does and why she does. So without further ado, I think we will get away straight into the session. A housekeeping rule for all of us here. There will be 6 questions, 3 questions to each of the panelists, on an average about 5 to 6 minutes for each of the responses. There will be a Q&A session for roughly around 10 to 12 minutes, and then 3 minutes around to wrap it all up. So with that, I can't wait to get started, and I hope all of you are equally keeping your thoughts afront as we jump into the session. Thank you once again. Wonderful. So the first question to Rasika on my left, was it a logical progression for you to move from engineering to sustainability?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. So let me elaborate a little bit. Now, Jayanti's session, Jayanti has very clearly explained why ESG is, how it is going to be, and what is important. Now, look at it from the industry point of view. So, all these industries, soon, in near future, they have to be aligned with this ESG. So, when it comes to ESG alignment, some companies probably deep into that, some are in moderate, and some are in marginal. Somehow, everybody will go in that. In that case, all industries require to have a sustainable ESG implementers in their organization to complete those tasks and bring them up to the level that they will be able to get this task done. So the main reason why just the demand is so high, because the industry point of view, the industries have investors will come and say, investors or bankers says, you must do it, there is a push from the investors. Then customer demand is high, so industry must do it. So then of course going on sustainable business model will be profitable. So that's the best place for industry to be there. No? So When it comes to that, then they want someone to be hired to run their organization and deliver those things. You guys will monitor and report and make it. It's operating tonight. So that's the demand. Point number one. Second, this is relatively new. Many of you know that it is new. Now, imagine someone is in a green skill is developed into sector which is relatively new. 30 years of experienced person versus 3 to 4 years of experienced person comes and works in same level field. Like a youngster would have been allowed to do it, right? So that is the second advantage, that if anyone is developed a green skill, there is a merit to it. Third one, as I said, everyone, every industry need to come to this ESG platform. That means across all sectors. It can be pharma, apparel, oil and gas, everyone. There is a whole spectrum of job opportunities. So why not to be there, to move from engineering to sustainability. And last one is, trust me, it is very satisfying. Once you do that, you feel very satisfying job. So this is why I feel like having a basic background and moving into the environment sustainable skill development is key.
Wonderful. So I think something very, I think takeaway would be the sheer satisfaction that you get actually in, walking the talk rather than talking the walk. Wonderful. Thank you so much for enlightening us. So to Jayanti, how does the construction industry and the techniques which have evolved towards sustainable buildings and offices, how do they really add up as far as the ESG quotient is concerned?
So I think most of us are aware of even the building that we right here is a LEED Platinum certified. I was part of this Platinum certification almost 12 years back, and this hotel, ITC, decided that all their hotels have to have the sustainability tag to all their international customers, to Indian customers who wants to have their travel, booked on sustainability tag, right? Because they sell bath and sleep. Right. So there's a lot of hot water consumption and things like that. So how this construction industry is evolved is that 10, 12 years or 15 years before, even rainwater harvesting was not part of all design. Even mandatory requirement within the basic rules and regulations in ABC. So that is something which many of the states have come forward. If you look at all the projects presently on a certain scale, do have rainwater harvesting, they have a sewage treatment plant, they have energy efficient glass, energy efficient building envelope. When I almost started my career 15 years back, in 15 years there was nothing called energy efficiency consulting. There was no role as such, So there is an energy efficient consultant now on board who looks after all the design, right from architects to electrical design to plumbing design to landscape design. What species that you select? Are they drought tolerant species? Do they consume more water? That aspect. So the demand is that the entire existence of that building itself, because building is built, there is an embodied energy into it. After that it starts living. It's like a baby is born and it's going to live for next 50, 80 years. Any concrete building, its life is 80 years. So your life cycle cost is a big environmental footprint in itself, and how do you reduce it and how do you offset it? So that's where every construction industry is moving towards, and the requirement from the clients are also like that. So any footprint that they want to make has to be net zero on right from day one on the design. So that's the move forward, I would say, from last 15 years to now. And we're all, you can see these certifications right in front of those buildings, in which it's not greenwashing. It is on the design and construction. It is getting implemented. And there are energy efficiency consultants who are putting a lot of efforts in reducing the air conditioning load, which is the CFCs, make a very important structure, very important element, because around 60% of energy consumption in your life cycle is your air conditioning in itself. Right? So if you're able to bring down that air conditioning load, I'll just give you an example before I go there. This is a part of design of ITC Gardenia in Bangalore. There, it was a 300-room hotel, and imagine a 300-room hotel to give us good number around it. Even if you put a split AC per room of a 5-star hotel, a good 200 to 300 square foot room, even 2-ton AC, it's going to be around 600 tons of air conditioning, plus a banquet area and other public areas, and hardly another 200, 300, maximum 700 to 900 tons. But the design came from the air conditioning consultant for 1,400 tons. And how many days a hotel gets operated with all common areas and all rooms filled in a year? Hardly 10 to 20 days. And the factor of safety is built in so much, and ITC was able to see it because they were owning around 10-12 hotels where the chillers were redundant. They were not even running. There were hardly times that entire load is available, which means your connected load. I might get too much technical, sorry for that. But yes, that is where it is. You cut down. We cut it down by 700 tons by doing an annual RE simulation, which brings out to say that there is direct cutoff from 1400 to 700. We directly cut off the entire environmental footprint out there with respect to capital or the embodied energy to the life cycle costing in itself. So this is where construction industry is moving, and coming to specific to ESG reporting for construction industry, there is something called GRESB certification, and they provide the ESG score for construction industries. And cement is one of the major I would say cement, glass, concrete, major environmental footprint, and there are a lot of new technologies that is coming in. If you know, concrete itself, when it is being produced, they can absorb CO2. That's the new future. There is already there that concrete can absorb carbon dioxide. That's where it is heading to.
Thank you. Probably a little of out of syllabus question. How do the existing buildings, which have already been there for the last, as we say, donkey's years, which have already been there, how do they add up to the ESG requirement, or how do they contribute to the ESG's?
Existing environment is like, I just gave the example of this hotel. This hotel is pretty 20 years old hotel, and so an existing building we completely do something called energy audit, like an internal audit. There is something, an exercise that to be carried out as energy audit with respect to your lighting, your air conditioning, your other plumbing infrastructure, your water. How are you managing? How are you measuring these numbers? All your footprints with respect to waste, energy, water, and then from that audit, find the gaps and move towards how to improve. That's how existing buildings are.
So, which means that there is also good news for existing buildings.
Yes, because there's already existing. That's a huge number in itself.
Yeah, huge. Thank you so much, Jayanti. So, to Daya, how is ICAI addressing the paradigm changes in the way the fraternity gears up towards this framework?
Thank you. And first of all, let me compliment before I take this question to no other person than Sunil. Compliments to you, Sunil, for organizing such a nice gathering. I think a big round of applause for this man. For these interesting discussions. And to Rasika and Jayanti, thank you very much, who gave me time to see the question and align my thoughts and give my response. Right? So I would see that question very clearly from here.
Yeah, which is why you are the chairman to the board of studies.
So sir, पुरानी आदत में जाती नहीं है. So in this question which you asked, if you can just repeat, there are two things which I would like to highlight. So please repeat.
Yeah, the first one is how ICAI is addressing the paradigm changes. In which way, in a way that the fraternity gears up, and to the challenging ESG framework, and how does ICAI also educate the client? Because many of the times the client may not be in the best of shape.
So there are two parts in this question. If you ask, it is primarily from the fraternity gearing up, and number two is the client expectation. Right? Am I right? These are the two important parts in this question. Now, let us put these two things together. I'll take a little time to explain it. Oh, sure. So there are two parts in this: fraternity gearing up and the client expectation. Just remember this. Now, what are the challenges in these two? One, knowledge gap, which is heavy, right? Number two, resource gap, which is again very heavy, because expectations are very high, resources are gap. And the third part is the most important thing, where we do not have any historical data, right? All of us will agree that these three are the major challenges which ESG is going through, right? Now, what did ICI do? That is, I think most of you are chartered accountants here, and it's a proud moment for all of us that we are the first institute in the world to form the SRSB board in 2003. First in the world. No institute actually have thought forward-looking so much that any institute has come up to that level. Now, number two, what did we do in the entire process? Is basically we created a sustainability board which has come out with the education material. Did it stop with the education material? The answer is big no. But what did it do? We had a certification course which we actually worked on, and I'm happy to share in last, I think 2.5 years, we could train 1,500 chartered accountants. People who have qualified their SRSB certification, which no other institute in the world has done. But when you come from the absolute numbers, we have 4 lakh chartered accountants and we have only 1,500 chartered accountants who have actually thought about it. Now, there is an offshoot of certain decisions which we take at the institute level, which most of the chartered accountants, whether in industry or in practice, have lost. The point is, coming out, first institute in the world again, in India as well as the world, to come out with a multidisciplinary practice, MVP, what we call. Unfortunately, people have not understood what this MVP is all about. Where the Ministry of Corporate Affairs specifically talked about certain things that you can partner with certain set of people, which includes engineers, which includes valuers, which includes multiple such people, including the company secretary, cost accountants, lawyers, MBAs, and all. Now, ESG framework, when you talk about, it is not a role of a chartered accountant alone. It actually needs that set of people who are trained in this entire areas of practice. They come together and they actually deliver the product what is required. Now, the next part is, I don't know how many of you are aware, we are actually the complete knowledge partners of SEBI, which is regulating the entire process of reporting. Can you just imagine? SEBI has called ICI and told, take 100 reports where SRSB reporting has happened, create a gap, read the gap, make a gap analysis, guide them how it should actually come. So that report has also been given by ICI. You get me? What is ICI doing? I'm just trying to I don't know how many of you are aware, but in this time frame, now what is happening? When you're talking about all this reporting framework, how authentic it is. Who are the people who are certified? You said some set of people are there, but what more you want as a chartered accountant in India, that you are a chartered accountant, you are allowed to certify this reporting framework. Now, in this entire process, what has happened? There are multiple sections of people, which are our agencies which are involved. That agencies, for them to create a right credit reporting mechanism, SEBI is coming out with the new regulations. That credit rating agencies for those firms or those agencies which are certifying need to be performed. So for there also, ICA is being called to do the entire vetting of the document. Right? Now beyond this, what is ICA doing? This is the question, right? Yeah. I hope you all are there. Yes. Right? Now what is ICA doing more? ICA doing more is, we have done a complete outreach program where we have called roundtable conferences with multiple CFOs across the country, right? Where ICI spend the entire money to ensure that people come participate and share their experiences. More importantly, they have not stopped with the organizations alone. We have gone down to a level which we have talked about this, right? The sustainability drive is introduced by ICI, where we have gone to the schools and colleges and we took those students to make some paintings, contribute something in some other form. There is a multiple list. If you go to ICI website, all the 17 goals are actually being achieved by ICI in different forms. Next, to demonstrate the world and the entire ecosystem, and we as a regulator want to do certain things. The World Congress of Accountants has happened, right? By mistake, I was made a convener of the digital and the sustainability group. And proudly I can say we have gone to a level where we have gone carbon neutral conference where 7,000 people have participated. So I think a round of applause for my institute. Looking at all these things, what is that we gained? In UNCTAD, the first chairman of sustainability reporting is a council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Now, how many of you have actually gone to the information which is available on the site, or how many of you have actually participated in the conferences or might be in certification courses? I don't know. But what is happening is most of the time, Jayanti, we are looking at the international side. What is happening at the international side? What is happening at the international side? Unfortunately, the government also looks from the international side, but the kind of contribution which ICI has made, just imagine you are supporting SEBI. 100 reports of SRSB reporting is being picked up and we are giving them the entire analysis. So when you are looking at those things, we have set up the standards. We are the first institute in the world to come out with the social stock exchange concept, where we have invested the entire money. 10 crores has been invested to form the body with SEBI. So now, point is, learning, a buzzword is different. But just get into the buzzword. And then you will understand the game so well. How many of you have gone through the SDGs? Right? 17 goals are. Go back to the history of ICI, institute, not institute, I'm sorry, to the country of India, called India, where all these things have a relevance in every mythology. We have been doing a great amount of work on that side, but unfortunately, when an Englishman speaks, we believe that is the right thing, and what we have been preaching is not right thing. So the point which I am trying to drive and take you towards is, those sustainable goals which have been defined are well within our DNAs, because we have followed certain things. हमारे पास गरीब बोलते हैं, लेकिन what we do charity, right? What is poverty? Or what is hunger? If you talk in any language, you talk jhad plant karo, we pray trees. Why do we pray trees? So go back to this entire thing, and this is what we have done in the sustainable drive, reaching out to the students. And I'm really happy. The other day I went to my daughter's school for admission. That school has the entire walls which are actually having the sustainable goals which are defined, and what activities children should do. That is being placed. If you really want to do a contribution, not from a commercial point of view, unfortunately, ESG framework or SRSB framework is more of a commercial. They say planet, people, profit. But unfortunately, profit, people, then planet. This is the reality. Till the time we don't actually think that we have to contribute to this Mother Earth, it is all commercial transactions. When you talk about ITC hotel, it's only for the aesthetics. Primarily they have gone for it so that it looks, I can sell it differently. That is the thought with which they have come. But fortunately, that is turning out to be a social cause. So somewhere in this process of ICI, what we have tried our level best is to ensure that people understand. Now we are celebrating ICI at 75 years ago we completed, and fortunately again I am the convener of that celebration also. In that particular event, we are actually taking sustainability drive at a large level, not only India but all international levels. So ICI, from a perspective of education not only to the members but also the industry is focusing. Then also the next generation, which we have talked about very nicely, that we are actually taking loan from our future generation is right. So what is that we give back? So this is what ICI is working towards. I hope I could answer the question in accompanying chance.
I think let's give a big round of applause. Thank you there. So the next question also starts with him, in fact, which is, I think, most of us, we are not work in progress as far as CA is concerned. We all have completed it. So it's very easy for us to ask him a question from the Board of Studies point of view. Is the curriculum getting changed or getting enhanced or getting modified so that we also learn, study, answer the questions that will make us relevant going forward?
This is a very, very nice question, which I am actually excited, and I thank the President who's given me the opportunity last year to be the chairman, where we revamped the entire curriculum of CA. Just can I take 2 minutes to explain what has happened? So we have a foundation, we have an intermediate, and we have final. There are 3 stages which are. So in the process, what has happened is, I don't know what made people always think that, if new laws come, add it to the students. One more law comes, add it for the students. One more law comes, add it to the students. And ultimately what has happened over a period of time is what is relevant is not read and what is not relevant is completely read. So what we have done in this entire process, and there is an answer in there, which you will really appreciate what happened in the entire process also. I'll tell you about sustainability. So last year when we sat, we designed the entire course saying that let us do one thing, we'll just cut down the entire course and we'll redesign it. For the first time in 75 years we did that. So there is a foundation course which has 4 papers. Then intermediate has 8 papers, which is burdened with all not kind of thing, don't ask. Right? We have got multiple faculties coming in the institute, going out, but no one actually thought about the student perspective, because this is getting recorded, otherwise I would have made one statement how many attempts I took to pass CA. And the best part is, after taking that number of attempts to pass CA, I have been made as a chairman Board of Studies. Experience service. So experience right? So what happened there? Is basically I said, let us do one thing, instead of making this 8 papers, let us cut it down to 6 papers. Right? And we have in final 8 papers, let us cut it down to 6 papers. 8 to 6, 8 to 6. And then we created a new concept which is called self-paced learning. Right? Now the self-paced learning is a model which is anytime, anywhere reading, any day you write an examination, no problem. Any day you want to write exam, any hour you want to write exam, you can write. So what is the first paper? There are 4 sets we have defined. Set A, Set B, Set C, Set D. Right? Set A is compulsory, which is corporate laws. Can you imagine moving away from the main exam and getting to self-paced learning? That is all going to be case study based. Because intermediate I completed my entire section learning. Set B is primarily about, I'm coming to the answer.
Yeah.
Because I need to give that answer, because if I don't explain this, you will not appreciate what we have done in the institute. Now set B is costing and performance evaluation. Rather than written exam, we have moved into experiential learning, with the learning which is going to be 60 hours of learning recording video, where it is only going to how you apply costing in the real, practical life, and your question answers are going to come out from there. Now set C, we have done 10 options to the students, anyone you select. Anyone you select. Now what is the 10 papers? Forensic standard, forensic audit was part of my auditing. Why it should be part of auditing? It is an exclusive area which has a post-qualification certification course. Systems audit. Why it should be an auditing paper? It should actually come out at some, because everyone is not interested in systems. Similarly, sustainability reporting was also forming part of auditing material. So we have just cut down that and put as one subject as sustainability reporting. That means a student who is going through his article shed, at any given point in time, he can pick and choose out of this 10, any one paper. I might like to go for sustainability. So what is there in that sustainability paper is basically the basics of the entire, not advanced one. Right? When you complete Your set C and set D is very unique. You will be, can't even imagine. You know, this Constitution of India, art of advocacy. Just imagine, digital ecosystem. We are going to talk on multiple things. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 10, 12, 12 plus 5. 17 choices are there. In that sustainability part, what we thought is, let a student only understand as an article that what is required during his learning experience, because Jayanti is there to guide. You know, another partner in the firm is there to guide. So that boy or a girl has to only understand what is that ecosystem. And once I complete my CA course, I have a certification course which is expert in. So, in the board of studies, the way we have actually put in, and just feeling proud that no other institute at this point in time has got sustainability as a separate paper. We are again the first institute in the world to get sustainability as a first paper. Excellent. So we all should be proud. Now, as you rightly said, you're taking loan from the future, right? Let me just tell you one thing, Jayanti. Time to come, the new generation which is going to do the professional courses, you know, my father asked one question, I always say, what do you think about the competition? I say it's not the past which is my competition, it's the future which is my competition. And these all students who are going to actually come out with exclusivity are going to stand out, and just with the kind of volume India has, we will be the global leaders in terms of just take it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for this thing. And as far as competition in future is concerned, I think the pass rate has also gone up, right? The number of students who pass the exam. So therefore, we are staring at competition right as we speak.
You know, but in the new syllabus, let me tell you one thing. You know, a person has to complete intermediate 6 papers, then only come for articles. The articles period is reduced from 3 years to 2 years, which never happened in 75 years again. This entire ecosystem which has changed. So many topics from the syllabus we have cut down. And let me tell you one thing, in time to come, the new course, if you are a CA, you will be tempted to write CA. That is the vision with which we are. So for all the people.
What I'm glad about to come to that, because I asked Jayanti the question of how do the existing buildings shape up. So similarly, how do the existing CAs also shape up to the new order?
Actually, what is lost in the process? A certification has become past. A continuous learning is something which all chartered accountants have to go through. The new set, the new breed which is going to come out, let me tell you one thing, whoever is sitting here, their experience stands zero with them. If you are not in touch with the day-to-day development, people think that they have been expert in a particular area, but the fundamentals are still that need to be read on a regular basis.
Thank you, Leah, and a round of applause for ICAI. Thank you. I think there should be more people who should be interested to take up CA as a course, notwithstanding the existing ones. Thank you so much. So, question to Jayanti, please. So, for the individual and for the organization, how do we make ourselves much more relevant as contributors to the entire ESG movement? Not that it was not there. There is a method to the madness now which was absent earlier. So all of us used to contribute in fits and starts, but right now it's all coming together. So what would be your suggestions as far as how we make ourselves more impactful and create the kind of value that all adds up to the ESG, the ESG promise?
As I was saying, yes, sustainability is not something we all know. Going back to what our grandparents were practicing on a day-to-day basis, right? Probably buying a dress, I would say, as a parent and for an individual, we might do it once in for Diwali or Pongal, whatever that is. Once a year, that's the good dress that comes. But whenever we want, we're there in a mall, we pick up clothes, and clothes is something which cannot be recycled at all. And now you see, now we get into an Adidas, I would say, not Adidas, any brand company, I would say. You see the shoes are manufactured with so many liters of water reduced. You pick up jeans, We have produced so much water in manufacturing of these areas. So as individual, as I said, we need to wear this sustainability hat. I will give a quick a story that I heard from a lawyer in one of the conferences who is from Mumbai. He is born and brought up from one of the beaches area in Mumbai, and I think you all would have seen this on a WhatsApp or a Facebook note where he brought in the olive red turtles back to Mumbai to actually hatch eggs, which was missing for quite some time. The entire beach was full of plastic waste. So this lawyer, after passing out and become a certified lawyer, he was fighting big companies, branded companies, in picking up and managing the waste. Because when the plastic producers, any kind of brand who was coming up with their product with plastic, the rules and regulations were that they are responsible to pick up and recycle the plastic. This is way back, many years before. But nobody was able to do that. And now we all know EPR, extended producer responsibility, how it is being implemented. But he was fighting it as an individual with these big brands to go pick up these plastic waste, which didn't happen. And he himself wore that hat. He went to the beach, started cleaning, one-handed, more hands joined. There were many people on the group, social media came into picture. There was a stage where United Nations recognized the lawyer who picked up and wearing the sustainability hat, and the turtles were back in the beach hatching eggs. So this is somebody as an individual to answer. It is an individual person's responsibility how much impact we have. It's not like we all don't know about it. You take construction waste at any building. We don't waste anything. You look at the project management side, every element till the end it gets recycled. We don't throw off anything. We used to have kabaddi wallahs pick up milk packets to our, polythene bags, to plastics from our home. We used to sell that. But now, where is it? It's forgotten. That's why it's going back to the past. We are sustainable by nature. It's not like, we need to look for the West to understand what sustainability is. So I think as an individual person to wear the sustainability hat and understand each and every step on a day-to-day basis, whatever we are doing, make that informed decision as such, which I'm sure our kids are teaching us now at home, I would say. They are more well aware of what is greenhouse gas emissions. We had to, as architects, we studied something called climatology in our first year, which was forgotten by the entire industry. But again, as an individual and industry-wise also, there are a lot of steps towards sustainability. If you look at air conditioning, the industry recognized this impact of refrigerant impact and ozone, and the industry itself changed from the R22 refrigerant within, whether it's going to come to a ban, they went ahead and moved towards R134A, 143A, different refrigerant which has less global warming potential. So industry bodies also have taken initiatives to become sustainable, addressing the future how it has to be. So I think as an individual, it is a person to wear the sustainability hat in whichever areas we are in.
Thank you. So are there any ways in which we can perform our cost-benefit analysis and convey it to the decision makers? Because at the end of the day, there has to be a sponsor. And the sponsor might say,
I think my answer was there in the presentation. We are done and dusted. Anybody asks me a cost-benefit analysis, I don't have an answer. You do it now. We are done and dusted. We are facing climate change issues.
Right.
We are facing it. We all saw the heavy flooding in Chennai. We saw in Tirupati, very close in Hyderabad. How was the kind of heavy rains and floods? We are facing it. It's right in front of our eyes, and still we want to show a cost-benefit analysis. I'm not the person for it.
Thank you. Profit. Right. Okay. So, our question to Rasika, in fact, Jayanti raised a very pertinent matter about regarding apples. So, I don't know how Rasika took it, but anyways. So, what are the key metrics, Rasika, that we need to look from an industry standpoint? When we try to measure us as an individual as to how well we have contributed to making us carbon neutral or
answer to her that what she said is true. There is a lot of water is consumed for the produce clothes that you are wearing and shoes that you are wearing. In fact, the number point of view, fabric takes about 150 liters per kg. That was 2006. Today, it is 80 liters per kg. So I'm talking about, there's a lot of variety of fabrics are there. You take the number as average because I am in the apparel industry, so I can generalize it and say. So to reach there, there's a 2-3 ways to reach. So that is where the industry comes. One is technological advancement, significant investment required for that, and the drive from the management. So now come back to the industry point of view. So I can get the Brandeis example itself. So a couple of things that you might be able to understand. Any industry to come and is where that you want to reach out to the merits of this ESG and reduce this thing as implemented. First, you need to analyze it. What is your consumption? So when you analyze your consumption, that itself wow factor will come to you, right? Just simple example, if you analyze what is the consumption in your house in the month, I'm sure you might think, this much required, I buy this much, that. So like that, it will come first, you have to analyze it and see what is your consumptions and what is your contribution, what is your organization's impact towards the environment. Now, whereas in my company, I'll give you an example. Apparel industry in the 1,000-acre park, I consume 1,500 million liters per year. Huge number. So for that, then first thing is we decided it's a big number. We will not tap it from groundwater. 0, 0.1, 0.2. We are 1,000-acre park, so why not we connect the entire rainwater harvesting pond in one location, an entire drain system to put it there and fill up the pond, and from there we will consume. So for that, I think, if Charit remembers there, I remember the number that we have spent about 20 million or something. Last year how much the rainwater I have collected and consumed? 670 million liters, which is $1 million, 8 crores. So if you quantify, then you go and take serious decision towards that, destructive decisions. Shape things the way that you look at it, then find solutions. Now, I was telling you the youngsters have a better idea than sometimes, I can't go up with my young staff because these guys have brilliant ideas. Because it is not the age is matter, it is idea is matter. So one of my engineer came up with, we are using our 20,000 employees available, we have flush valves for these toilets to use. So he came up with a Teflon ring. Because he looked at it, it is pushing furthermore, it goes more water. So if I push this distance, how can I reduce? So he reduced the rate by putting a Teflon ring. You know how much I am saving with that? $100,000 in a year. 80 lakhs. Just simple this thing. It's because we are into very big, volumetric. Small change can change it. So that way, if you look through those consumptions, trust me, your brain will pop up the idea. Never been thought of. One thing I was in this is I never meant to say, it happens today. Praneeth picked me from the hotel, so I was waiting. So before me, there's one couple is getting into the vehicle and travel car. That guy is overload a lot of weight in the dicky and then they put the bag. Okay, so that came to my mind. Every car is traveling all around in Hyderabad, having a Stephanie inside. Right? So I have driven I self-driven in my vehicle about 250,000 kilometers in a year so far. 2 times only I faced the tire punch. So that means occurrence of my personal experience, occurrence is 1 divided by 125. 125,000. So that is the possibility of occurrence. Just assume, just taken it as the point, assume there's a travel agency who's operating in Hyderabad. I'm trying to bring you destructive thinking, how you can think of that. And one car will run about 4,000 kilometers in a month. And carrying, required or not, it is carrying the Stabby 20 kilos. So it consumes the energy for that, diesel for that. Right? Now imagine you and I goes in there, tire punch, they are going to wait till 20 minutes for them to change, or we'll go to Uber and practical. Uber, correct? So if I am a car owner, I have 100 free, I will remove the tire. I'm just thinking, maybe the most foolish thing that I'm telling, I'm just telling you, this is the way you have to look at it as an industry when you go out the numbers. So I'll remove the tire and I'll let my fleet to run. In case of an eventuality happen, I'll give the liberty for them to book the client Uber and send him. Right? Just I did a calculation there, the 4,000 kilometers, it at least a 5 cent is the diesel consumption per kilometer is carrying the 20 kg tire. So then, come to a number in a year to like 40,000. So that I am traveling 48,000 kilometers in a year in this car fleet. So 48,000 divided by 125,000, you guys are good numbers, is 40. So that means entire year 40 occurrence can happen. So when you go to the number, you can think of doing that extra load. So this is how we as an industry look at everything. We have to think like that. Then only you can be a practical, disruptive implementer. Can change the things. One thing I tell you, my company is Apple. I'm using needles. I'm using $2 million in a year. Right? So, once a needle blunt, I'll throw and I'll get another needle. And over time, I'm one of a flow engineer is like a pencil sharpener. Can I sharpen it? Can do no. So I sharpen it, then there's a 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter needle will get shortened. But the sewing machine, you can adjust that 2 millimeter. Cost became half. Now, just see that if everything, if you look at, you can make it. That's why I told that tremendous joy is there when you make this. Now, if you work out in this way, now I come to the last point what you are saying, what you asked from her also, cost-benefit analysis. So she said, forget about it, we have to do time. But the real world, these finance guys will say, hey, what you are doing, you are asking this much of this thing, so when is the ROI? You know something? Now imagine if I go and give in this way, who will not agree? It is. So you need to wrap the financial aspect along with this sustainable model, and where that you can reduce your green emissions and where the financial benefit is there. If you give this space to the management, initial stage, you start getting it, it will go to the higher. Okay. Same time, you can have an industry who's very well taught and they will be pursuing it. Anything to do, you have to discuss because not everything off the shelf is available, everybody will do. So you need to be in a green, you need to distribute, you have to innovatively think. That angle, if you think it, we are done. So that is how, as an industry, I think we should do. That makes, then you guys, Jayanti can come and say, it is this one, we can check it, is it really true? So okay, number what I said is, it may be 80% accurate, it's fine. So when you report it, that there is a benefit of it, but there is somewhere we are reaching. Right? So every aspect. Now, one more thought that we are posing in our company. See, you might not notice this. We are doing a large volume of apparel. We are doing it months ahead before the season, right? So basically, new latest pattern known by us in 3 months before. So now my buyer will be very cautious to make sure that I will not reveal that design. So any waste, see, when you stitch, some things goes wrong, so we have to remove. those things we have to put it into the either incinerating or we have to destroy it, because before original order hit into the Europe, copiers should not see this one and copy it in from China and put it in the market and they will lose millions. Now we were just bouncing an idea. Instead of destroying it, what is the problem? Oh, it is having certain pink color, it is patent. Certain yellow color, it is patent. Certain flowers are there as a patent in new design. Why not we redye it? We'll put a black and redye it. It is no longer that patent color is not applicable. Then I can say it. So now, this is what will happen is, if you as an industry, when you look at it, when you measure all this, you will get top line. When you address it, you will get bottom line. You will see furthermore. This is like AI music. See, I love that guy, right? See, when I hear AI music, after 20 years old, I hear new sound. You know what that guy did was, initially he blended 40 instruments. First day when you hear in the launch time, you hear 10 instruments only. So that is the one that when you do in ESG organization, you will see top line items. Very, very easy things. When you really doing it, you will see the next layer. We can do this also. The next layer of sounds. Then when you do that, you will see another layer. After doing it, you will see another one.
Can we actually listen to another layer of something from the audience, please? Okay. So, any questions from the audience to this distinguished panel? We'll be more than happy to have it, please. Okay. Right. So, with that, please. Come on.
Thank you. So earlier we spoke about the order of priority, right? Whether planet, people, and profit, or other way around. Now, obviously, companies are doing ROIs are because the stakeholders, shareholders want profit, and so the driver or the root cause isn't really about our ability to do a lot of these things, but where the motivation is coming from and who's driving some of this motivation. What do you think can be done to actually fix the problem where the education of the need, the idea of profit must go far beyond money, and a different kind of profit or a different kind of reward is what we need to be looking for. I don't think, I'm not sure whether all the things we've talked about so far will deal with the shareholder who's expecting a return on investment or any of those other aspects which drive the behavior of the organization. So some thoughts perhaps on that.
It's a very simple answer. This ESG reporting, what you're talking about, the moment you move away from the financial statement and go to the drive, the people at large, and get that drive right, when you talk about the literacy, that is what we need to do. The moment a shareholder understands the importance of the social costs, then only he'll appreciate what you're doing. Otherwise, it's only going to be a problem. Ask him.
The thing was, profit is, okay, shareholders' interest in the profit, yes. So if the shareholders understand that the industry that is working with, you also demand is generated. If the particular the investment we are done in industry is doing it sustainably, then why not he is not looking at it? Just see my industry where we are doing my biggest purchases are going to be the young generation, that is we call it as a generation Z, Gen Z. That means those who born by 1995 to 2010. Now this team is always conscious about this sustainable product to be where. But remember, they are not rich. They won't pay a single rupee more than the competitor. So, but that is what we say. You, by doing a sustainable listing, you won't get an additional rupee for your product, but you will get a higher order booking. You will get a front page. understand? So there's a whole bunch of other companies are, a whole bunch of companies are there. So if this company do the environment sustainable way, from the buyer will give order, will get advantage. So that is profit is available. So I'm very sure he should have appetite for it. That is why we were seeing so there is a push from investors and back saying, hey, you guys have to do sustainable, otherwise I'm going to bust it. So after some regulator come and destroy the industry. So I think it will address surely.
Thank you so much, Sika. I think in the interest of time, we will have to wind up and reserve your questions during the lunch break and the network, even in the tea break. So thank you so much, and we are running a little behind schedule, so we'll have to expedite it a little. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this engaging session. I request my fellow BOC members, George and Prashant, to hand over the mementos.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, first of all, obviously, thank you to the Hyderabad and the Vizag chapter for putting this together and for the opportunity to speak here. Thank you so much for that. I'm standing between all of you and lunch, so I'll try to keep this crisp and sharp. I'm sure all of us have heard of continuous control monitoring. So, just to get a sense, how many of us in some shape or size and some strength of numbers, etc., have implemented continuous control monitoring in some form or the other? Okay, excellent. So what I thought sort of approach. So just a few trends that would like to focus on. So on the first one, now all of you who are doing CCM in some way or the other, one of the big challenges or the limitations, if I want to call it, not so much challenges with the existing CCM approaches. I'm sure all of us use some standalone analytical solutions like ACL or some of the other platforms, etc. or even SQL queries, etc. But all of this is currently sort of working in independent silos to the regular internal audit process. So when it comes to data collection, if you would have tried to extract any reports from SAP or let's say Oracle or any of the other BI systems or any other platforms that you may have in your organizations, getting data out, building a data pipeline or a connector to extract data from any of these systems requires heavy dependence on the technical teams. And all of us know that how easy or difficult it is to do that. Secondly, this entire process in most of the applications currently in the market, there is still a reasonable manual involvement, dependence still involved, right? So you have data that's coming in, either people are manually uploading onto the likes of Alteryx or Power BI, or if you're using, for example, an ACL, you still have to manually upload all of that information. So there's still quite a lot of manual involvement. Now, when it comes to the analytics, the rule building of the analytics is still, again, largely querying dependent. You have to build the querying logics and the validation rules. So unless, again, you have dependency on somebody to be able to technically query write and to build up the validation logics. And then finally, on the reporting side, so again, this is an interesting one. Would like to know from all of you. The way that CCM is currently used is you have exceptions coming out from the different rules that you set up. And then these are then used as a base to then further, take inputs and then go and use them for further audits. But are we able to integrate the output coming from the CCM activity into our regular reporting framework? So does anybody do that, or again is it more inputs and then you use that to do further analytics and further reviews around it? Anybody who's basically integrated this with your regular reporting framework? So yeah, sorry, one hand. You want to talk about how you're doing that? And then how does this integrate with your eventual audit reports or let's say your quarterly reports?
So maybe you can come forward.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So I think generally, by and large, if you were to look at it, this is still, sort of a standalone process where you have output coming and people then using that output to do further validations, etc., and then maybe reporting it as observations as part of your regular audit report. And obviously then this is still manual dependent, each individual auditor, for example, applying their own mind, and the reporting, it still has to be done manually. You have to create word reports, you have to create PPTs, etc., So, there is still, it's not really sort of, integrated into your mainstream auditing and reporting process. So, just to spend some time on how, different organizations, large organizations across the world, and we're working with clients across multiple geographies, how different organizations are trying to address this now. So the one sort of solution is to put all of this on one single integrated, sort of framework or platform, where you have data pipelines to all your major applications, a standard data pipeline for, let's say, SAP or for Oracle or for, your BI systems, your CRM systems, where, there is sort of as a one-time configuration, you set up how data will be extracted, and it gets pumped onto the system. So, there is no manual intervention now. It's part of your regular routine audit process. You can set up a scheduler to say that, a particular T code or a particular report, what frequency it has to be extracted at, when, what time of the day it has to be extracted at, so that, there's no load on the systems, etc. Finally, there's also quite a few unstructured reports that we use as inputs for our audits, customized reports, where again, you may not be able to connect directly to a system and extract a ready report. So there, you have ad hoc reports that get extracted, and you can then have, let's say, a bot or an application pick it up from a specified location. So that's how the collection bit is being addressed. On the analytics side, the rule building side, again, systems like an Alteryx or a Power BI, for example, are able to, there is a front-end based drag and drop, validation tool configuration where you don't really have to, for example, just keep coding or query writing all the time. Regular auditors like all of us can also sort of, build all of these validation rules by ourselves without too much dependence on on a technical coder, so as to speak. And then finally, on the visualization side, again a very sort of interesting change here as well. Where a lot of organizations today, if I don't know, the gentleman in the back, when you have output, coming out, what do you do with that output? You either end up then integrating this with an independent application like a Power BI or a Tableau to then get into visualization. So obviously that has its own set of challenges. You have incremental licensing costs that you incur, to get access to those kind of applications. People are now trying to put all of this again on a single integrated system, where you have data collection working seamlessly on the core application. You have analytics being executed by the core application, and you also have visualization and dashboarding coming out from that application. I'll try to talk about how this is basically changing the way in which audit reporting, could potentially happen going forward. Moving away from the traditional word-based audit reports and the quarterly sort of audit committee presentations that we do. One could really look at moving away from that approach into a more contemporary approach. And then similarly, case management, closed looping of the output that comes out from your CCM tests. Again, like he explained as well, so most organizations where you have all of this output then being sent out to individual process owners on emails. Sometimes they result into some kind of concrete and reportable observations. Sometimes you get responses and that doesn't happen, but it's all on emails and you have to track it separately. You can have that bit also as part of the same integrated system where there is a workflow. All the exceptions that come out from your tests, they can auto sort of flow to individual process owners. Obviously, once all of us are comfortable about the maturity of the output and the less number of false positives in the output. And process owners can then actually log into the system and comment on whether they are okay with the issue or whether they have some alternate comments. They could even put in their action plans and responses and fixes and timelines, and the open issue tracking would also be done through the same system. So we're talking of a scenario or a trend where instead of an audit management system being a static application, which is basically just housing working papers and let's say RCMs, etc., and your output of the audit test results, it's actually like a live application that's helping you perform the audits, getting data for you, auto-fetching the data for you, building dashboarding and reporting templates for you, and also close looping the whole cycle of audit confirmation and validation of the exceptions that are coming out. So just want to spend 2 minutes here now. This is just an example for all of you to give you a sense of, this is a case where a bot is being built to extract data from SAP. So how different organizations are now trying to, automate the whole data extraction piece. So in this scenario here, this is a vendor GL being extracted from SAP. So on the left hand side, these are all the potential actions that one can do on an application screen or on a web page. All you need is a read-only access to, let's say, SAP to build this kind of a bot. And again, there's no technical coding here, so just want to stress on that again. It's again, all of us as regular users, we could do this. So the first step is to put in the username. The second step is to put in the password. You have different events and activities that you can put there. Then the third step is to put in the login language, whether it's English or any other language, etc. And then finally, you can configure, the period for which you want to extract the data, etc. So basically, it mimics and replicates what all of us as a manual user would do to log into SAP to extract, a vendor GL. Once obviously this is all a one-time configuration. Once this is done, then thereafter the bot runs at a pre-configured frequency and keeps auto extracting this, by itself. So in the interest of time, I'll just flip through the video. Maybe this example I'll speak a little more in detail later in the interest of time. This is again, how query building is done. So again, I'm sure there are a lot of applications in the market, and for those of you who worked on the likes of Alteryx, Power BI, etc., this is how query building and rule building is done now. So again, no need to get into SQL query writing. Obviously, it's a good skill set to have, but even if you're not there, at least for 60, 70, 80% of our scenarios, you can just simply drag, drop, and build all the validation rules from the front end itself. So now the case management bit, so where all your issues flow to the process owners, where they can get onto the system itself, and they can either accept the observation, say we don't accept it. You can classify it as a residual risk as well to say this is a open known item. And the system then automatically, different systems produce your open issue tracking and your pending action report, etc. Those dashboards keep getting published. Now finally, what this translates into, for large size organizations is you have a process tree of the organization that gets built on this kind of an integrated system, right? Where you have all your functions of across the organization, so whether it's finance, whether it's supply chain, HR, customer service, etc., etc. And then every function, what is the different processes that the function handles, and then you have the risk control matrix. So, what I'm trying to impress upon you is that instead of, the fragmented approach that is there to CCM today, you are now housing all of this life cycle, the execution life cycle, the data collection, the execution life cycle, the reporting life cycle. All of it is housed on one single integrated platform. So, it's an application like any other that is there in the organization. And so, in this example that you're seeing here, there are multiple industries. So there's telecom, where you have almost a 500 control, library, where you have insurance, where you have almost like 175 plus control library, different capital market, brokerages, stock exchanges, etc. Manufacturing organizations as well, where you have the entire control repository housed and hosted on a system of this kind. I'll talk about how this impacts reporting as well, but just to leave with you a sense of the scale at which this is now happening across different geographies. In the first example that you're seeing on top here, this is a large conglomerate that manages about 25 to 30 different businesses. This is a client in the Middle East, where they have airports, they have FMCG, they have airlines, they have steel manufacturing, they have different entities. So now that entity has basically on one single instance, central instance, there are about 3,000 plus controls that are housed on this system, and each entity is basically identified about 100 key controls that they want to monitor on an ongoing basis. All of those 100 controls have been set up on this system, and centrally there's automated data collection that's happening, there is automated validation that's happening, and the reporting, dashboarding, etc. is all happening on the system. So quite a sort of transformation of the regular or the traditional internal audit approach and process. Again, a few other examples where there are manufacturing companies that have almost about 250 controls. Now the challenge on the first one, sorry, I just missed that one out. All of these 25, 30 different companies, they have their own separate ERPs. Some have SAP, some have Oracle, some have HANA, some have ECC, some have Sage, for example. So that's the level of complexity that this kind of approach is basically able to handle. So even in your standalone organizations, you use multiple systems. It should not, one should not try to restrict this just to your core ERP applications, but also a lot of the other applications, because if you're able to host almost 70-80% of your control universe on this kind of a approach, that's where your real sort of benefit is derived from. I can skip through this again. Yeah. So that was the first sort of trend that I wanted to talk about. Second, here is again on increased use of OCR, for internal auditing. So there are various scenarios and use cases, where one could use OCR for internal audits. A lot of times we are dependent on just sample, manual, document-based. And confirm whether that matches with the live photograph of the customer or not. So again, you can use technology to do those kind of validations as well. Signature validation may be not so relevant in today's world, but again, where you are required to do a signature validation, again you can do a specimen signature versus a signature on a digital template, and you can match and publish a percentage match score. So I'll maybe just to give you a sense of some use case scenarios where you can use this, and I'm sure all of you in your respective organizations will probably have far more examples here. So like I said, obviously the first one was KYC, where across banks, across financial services, telecom, you can do the entire validation. The second one is invoice validation, vendor invoice validation. All of us do B2B reviews and we audit vendor invoice templates. So here again, you can program the bot using a combination of keywords and a combination of coordinates to pick up, the 5 or 6 key fields that are relevant on any vendor invoice template. You could have that data extracted, and then you do any validation on top of that data, whether it is, rate validation or, some kind of price variance, etc., etc. Different things that we validate. For example, on your e-invoicing now, you have a QR code that gets affixed on the vendor invoice. And as a standard reconciliation, you're supposed to validate whether the QR code information matches with the invoice information or not. So there again, you could do as part of audits or even as part of, let's say management activity. This could be done through a QR code reader extracting that information, OCR looking at the vendor invoice template and extracting that information, and you validate and confirm whether those are in sync or not. The third one here, this is again a very interesting one. I don't know how many of you are involved in forensic investigation and monitoring as well in your organizations. But you have all of us who do that activity. For example, you have alerts coming in from the IT team on keyword-based, monitoring of emails. So anti-bribery, for example, you do certain keywords to check whether somebody is taking a commission or those kind of words. Now, I don't know how many of you you've actually experienced this, but you have loads and loads of emails that pop up as exceptions. For anybody to make sense out of this and convert it into relevant, usable material, you have to then sift through each of those emails individually and try to look at whether it's relevant, not relevant. Now, you could have a bot to read through those emails, extract those keywords from those emails, populate it in, let's say, structured Excel, and then you have that data to then do your validation and act upon. So really helps you make sense of all of those inputs. Again, small example, I don't know if there's a big retail organization here that has presence in multiple places across the country. So any simple thing like let's say like a telecom tower company, right? They have to pay about 250,000 electricity bills every month. Every site has an electricity bill, or for any other retail organization that has multiple offices and office spaces across the country. To do that kind of validation as well, you can only do it on if you go by the traditional approach, you're only able to pick up a few samples and then validate whether that's accurate or not accurate. Here now you can have again a bot sort of apply OCR and extract information out from those invoice templates, pick up the relevant information. You can then do the analytical validations can also be built on the bot, where the bot validates whether the rate per unit is correct or not, or if you want to do stuff like, for example, trending of the invoice over a couple of 5-6 month kind of a period. It can do those kind of validations as well. So your entire audit procedure here again can be applied on the entire customer or the sample base or the universe instead of doing it for few select samples. Contract analyzer I spoke about, so again mandatory clauses in a contract versus how this is being done. Whether all the mandatory clauses are part of the contract or not. The third one that I sort of want to talk about is I don't know with all of you with your current CCM approaches. Traditionally, this is all thought about and done for business process controls. Traditional processes like P2P, payroll, HR, O2C, etc. I don't know how many of you, if any, have tried to put in your IT control monitoring through a continuous control monitoring setup, right? So you have, yeah, that's it. Okay. So like I was saying, traditionally most organizations or most audit functions have tried to do this on the traditional processes, but you can again have there is significant number of controls and activity monitoring on the IT control side as well that you could put in through a CCM setup. So all your basic standard hygiene areas like access management, antivirus, endpoint security, firewall reviews, so the slightly more complex and technical stuff. Your network management, router management, patch management, change management kind of controls that we do. So as to just give you a sense, as an example here, you have almost 60% of your IT control universe, which is again can be monitored through a CCM kind of a setup again. More technical stuff like VAPT, etc. Obviously, you still have to do that externally. But even there, the reports coming in and the parameters coming in, the analytics on that output, you could try to put in through this kind of a system again. And that's just the sense of different existing platforms in each of the domains where the integration sort of already exists. A few examples of case studies I spoke about, firewall reviews. So depending on the size of the organization, you could have multiple firewalls installed. Every firewall has a rule configuration, or you want to study whether this is in line with the policy or not, whether it's showing the right kind of output or not. You have to sit through each configuration and then keep auditing it. You can again, like I said, you can have the bot do this and validate all the rules, validate the output, and not only that, but once you have the output, the analytics on that output can be configured through here. In this example here, almost 30 plus different controls across your areas like patch management, access controls, endpoint security, incident management, etc. So if you get the sense, anything where even though it's an IT control, but there is data involved, there is analytics involved, there is validation involved. All of those can again be housed on your CCM platform if not already done. Very interesting one again, SOD. I'm sure all of us who are doing SOD try to run scripts, standalone scripts, and do that validation. And then once you have exceptions, you're again then chasing your auditing teams and your process business teams to get comments back from them. So that entire piece can also be housed on the analytics system. It's it's a pretty big area and gets a lot of change. The next one that I want to talk about is, and this is a very interesting one, the whole focus on visualization and dashboarding and the shift from the traditional way of reporting audit reports, where right now we do, like I said, Word reports or PowerPoint reports, individual reports that happen as we keep finishing our audits, and then we finally try to consolidate all of those reports into, an audit committee deck in terms of a summary finding and present those issues. So, may sound a little radical, but very interesting thought on how we can change this. So, on the screen here now, you have applications now in the market or organizations, where this has been implemented, where you are getting, let's say if you have your 70-80% of your control universe being monitored through an automated monitoring environment. And again, I know it sounds too far-fetched maybe, but over a period of time, once you eliminate the false positives, there is maturity in the output that's coming out, you've sharpened your logics as much as you can, you've built in the second level, third level validations on the exceptions also on the automated system. It's not something that's doable, it's not just pure theory, it's actually doable. You then have, you can have a nice sort of, single level pie chart or a donut that's giving you an organization level, control posture for the entire organization. So, in the background, based on the schedule and the criticality of the control, you could schedule a control to be monitored, let's say on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly kind of a basis. And as and when the validation keeps happening, this pie chart will sort of, this dashboard will keep getting populated by itself. And as on any date, you are able to see the control posture of the organization. So, that's the level of reporting that, one is, able to get into if you really want to sort of move away from the traditional approach, and it's more proactive. You're not waiting for the end of the quarter. You're not again presenting individual audit reports and individual issues, but you're now talking of how the organization is looking at an overall level. And this then obviously you can break this up into individual departments, individual processes, and you can then get into different, nice looking visualization and dashboarding templates. So you can, on a single screen, you get how your different processes look, how many controls have passed or failed in each individual process. What's the high, medium, low count on each of the controls, on each of the processes, on each of the departments. And very, very interesting where, you could also get into now trending of a control, right? So instead of, currently all of us, typically as part of the plan, we come in once in a year, we look at a process once in a year, we comment on, how that process is done during, let's say, the last 12 months. But now with this, if the validation is happening, let's say, on a monthly basis, you could actually show at an individual control level, at a process level, at a department level, at an organization level, what's the control environment looking like over a 6-month period, over a 12-month period. What's getting better, what's getting worse, which controls are working, not working, which processes are better off or worse off. So the level of insight that you are able to offer with this kind of approach is obviously significantly, not only more granular and more detailed, but also quite different from how we are traditionally, how we've been traditionally doing it. Finally, finally two more to go. Lot of internal audit functions where, again, may sound very, very radical, where the internal audit functions are taking a lead to showcase, the transformational opportunity with any process, right? So, as internal auditors, our mindset is that this is, a management activity. They are supposed to automate, they are supposed to sort of, do digitalization. We are supposed to simply audit whether that digitalization has worked or not. But as a proactive, group, can you not also, take as part of the regular plan or as part of the regular audits that we are doing, take up a few examples which are really impactful. And either by yourself or try to partner with a relevant expertise, a setup that has relevant expertise, and showcase the automation potential in a particular process. The level of obviously acceptance and credibility that you build up with that kind of output then obviously becomes quite different from just pure controls assurance, which obviously is very important. Not saying that that's not important, but you're also then able to get into all of this. So just a few examples of this again. I spoke about the utility bill scenario where we did partner with one of the internal audit setups, and as part of the validation program, we built this entire bot framework which basically directly logged into different DISCOMs websites, auto-extracted PDF copies of bills and invoices. You did OCR on those invoices, extracted information, and then you did the validation on that data. So instead of a manual audit that would have, let's say, done 100, 200, 500 odd samples, one was able to offer assurance. Now, fortunately, this was a use case where this entire process was outsourced to an agency. The agency would typically go to the DISCOM, get the bill, punch that bill in Excel, send that Excel sheet to the corporate function for validation. And surprisingly enough, we were fortunate that the agency was punching in much higher numbers in the Excel as compared to the actual invoice, and we were able to pick up a big fraud there. So that's once obviously this kind of validation was offered to the management, they've obviously now picked that up and plugged in as part of the regular routine process itself. KYC I've spoken about, so obviously there are quite a few mature setups that are already moving to OCR as part of the operational program itself. So not only just post onboarding validation, but even as part of the onboarding process itself, you have bots that are using OCR to extract information from customer KYC ID documents and populating the customer database itself. But here again, if that's not the case, you could partner with a bit of setup to do this activity, showcase the capability, and then sort of prod and nudge management teams to try to move into this kind of an automation environment. Another one, I'm sure again a lot of us would probably be doing this already. So revenue assurance is a key area across different organizations. Your customer contracts, based billing, different parameters on those contracts. If those are not being already monitored through automation, you can have different ways of doing it. You can create master, where you can configure customer rates, contracts, etc. I'm sure they are already there in different systems already, and use that to build independent validation. So again, here this is an audit function that led this initiative, did this for a few sample customers, and then this was replicated and passed on to the management team for implementation on an overall basis. So I'm sure there's a lot of more examples, but just the thought where not just do the regular stuff which we do and which is important to do, but maybe also proactively try to look for these kind of opportunities so that you showcase transformational opportunities with different processes. The last one again is all organizations now using all kinds of technologies, moving to everything is the buzzword is digital. For customer offerings, for customer initiatives, for internal organizational initiatives, or their internal processes, and there's a whole host of technology that's now being implemented in the organization. Big setups have huge internal engineering teams that are working on different initiatives on an ongoing basis. So the question is, as audit functions, how many of us sort of trying to look at a digital risk assessment for the organization as a whole? So is there a framework wherein, at the time of onboarding of new technologies, is somebody doing a proactive sort of assessment to look at, what impact does this have on organizational risk? You have RPA frameworks, you have AI frameworks, you have ML frameworks that are coming in. Who's doing the digital risk assessment, for that proactively? Is there a policy around that? Is there a framework around that? From a data leakage or a cyber impact, while we do, I'm sure all of us do cyber risk assessments and cyber security audits. But again, from a digital risk integration standpoint, is that happening or not? And essentially, like I said, is there a policy around it? Is there a framework around it? And are we able to then nudge the organization into that kind of environment? Yeah. So I hope didn't take too much time and finished well in time for lunch for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Apurva. Do we have any questions for Apurva? In the interest of time, we can only take one question.
Thank you, Apurva. So, I'm a chartered accountant basically working with Allied Group as a business advisor. So, this concept of digitalization of internal auditing, we are seriously thinking, how we can drive auditing through digitalization. There are two parties to the audit. One is the auditor and the other is the auditee. Organization is an auditee. Now, as an audit, the auditee has implemented this particular product that they drive their internal audit process. Now, me as an auditor has to get data from the auditee, right? So, this product has integrated many applications and getting data, and it is a reporting tool. So, it is deriving data from the original sources. Now, me as an auditor, I have to again get a comfort on this reporting tool. So, it's more like increasing my efforts. So now how I can save time or how I can get a comfort on this visualization tool, because it is again deriving data from another source. Okay, right? So how you can integrate auditee and auditor so that the information coming from the auditee to the auditor, it should not be like one more step extra, but it should simplify the process as a whole. So this challenge has been coming. We are also looking for a product where as an auditor, both the parties can use the same application or interface and they can simplify this process.
Yeah, I think the simple answer to your question is, I'm sure, I don't know if your organization has a BI platform or not. Any medium, large, reasonable sized setup will typically have some kind of data lake or some kind of BI system where all of this will be integrated. You have data pipelines coming into the BI system. These are standard, tested data pipelines, and that then becomes the sort of source data for both the process owners as well as the auditors to sort of use. If you were to get into this kind of a system, this system then will also need to have a connector into the BI system for picking up the data. And like I said, then there is no discrepancy. Both sides are using and referring the same data. You're not having to do any kind of incremental validation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That is the process how we deal with it. But the challenge is here is, if it is for a single organization level, this product will help a lot. But if as an internal audit function, as an external auditor, I have to rely on the internal audit data or whatever it may be. Now the question comes here is, suppose assume if I as a auditor, external auditor, use this product or some other technology, what happens is if I provide this solution to the organization, how do they accept that? Whether the data is only to the extent they are getting the data to the outside party. So the privacy concerns are coming into place, and then to what extent that data is being transferred, and then suppose if I give a suggestion for a product to implement in their organization, they have a lot of questions in terms of implementation that product into their bunch of suite of applications. So how to convince that as well?
Yeah, so again, multiple ways in which this can be hosted. You could host this in the physical data center, you could host it on the cloud, in the company's cloud environment. There is no data that goes out from the company's environment, so from a privacy or a data leakage standpoint, there is no risk. It's not housed independently outside anywhere. How you can convince them? Obviously, like I said, there's no data leakage risk there. It's all within the company's setup, and so
the roadmap for something like this is if you implement this kind of a platform over an 18 to 24 month period, if you're able to put, let's say, 70-80% of your control universe on an automated monitoring system, and once you're reasonably comfortable that this is now mature, false positives have been eliminated, as a mature organization, you would then hand this back to management teams to say this is for you to monitor on an ongoing basis now. And the auditor's role, instead of then getting into every single exception and validating and close looping the exceptions, will then change to simply validating whether everything that came out from here was adequately closed looped by different management teams or not. Right? So it just becomes like a regular business process that you go and audit. So it takes away from a lot of the routine, regular, mundane, validations and exception monitoring that we typically end up doing currently.
Thank you so much, Apurva. Your thoughts have really upped my advisory game, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of all the delegates in this room. I would now like to invite Mr. Charit, President Vizag Audit Club, to present the memento to Mr. Apurva, please. A big for lunch and resume at 2 p.m. Thank you so much.
सुन के बैठे वहाँ पे